Hello, I hope this finds you well. I must apologize for getting this off late this month, but what I've been waiting for is a little bit more information about this cooling off period that's been announced. So if you haven't heard, the the financial institution that regulates the BC realtors now, plus the government, has announced that they want to introduce a cooling off period. Now, of course, in fine BC provincial government fashion, there's no details. So devil's always in the details. So I've been waiting a little bit to find out what the details are in this. I spoke earlier on CKNW on the Jill Bennett show about this and gave an opinion, but of course my opinion was just slated on what is going to be in the details. And again, nothing has been released. So I'm going to drop in a few links here for you to take a look at. I'd love to hear some comments and your thoughts on it. What I have in front of us here is something talking a little bit about it. One of the interesting comments is that research done by Deakin University found that when 60 consumers were faced with a 48-hour cooling off period from a purchase, none of them changed their minds when faced with a better alternative. The reason behind this lack of change is called loss aversion. That is that the cost of losing something tends to be greater than making equivalent gains. For example, this means that the feeling of losing $100 tends to be greater than the feeling of gaining $100. So, that they feel like within the housing market, people are unlikely to change their minds with a cooling off period. And that, again, unfortunately, in the case of this announcement, without more details resulting from thorough consultation, which they're now just starting, it's not clear whether this will improve home buyer protection. Committing to this type of policy without the appropriate level of research and consultation is presumptive at best. So that's from the British Columbia Real Estate Association. And that's from their executive officer, Darlene Hyde. And I would tend to agree with that. As I've talked to other colleagues about this, there's lots of ideas that we have where, maybe it's going to add extra bids because you're going to be able to just get out of it. There is a 7-day rescission period when you buy brand new, like a condo development, but you don't make an offer with subjects. So it's basically in lieu of subjects. Now you can get out of that without any penalty. If there is $1,000 deposit, it's refundable. So really, we're worried about the unintended consequences for this. And some are even speaking of maybe this pushes prices up because you're going to get more and more bids. And somebody asked me, do you have very many clients that are unhappy after they're in a multiple offer situation? And I've said after 15 years of doing this, and often in multiple offer situations, the answer is no, I really don't. And whether that's maybe a few haven't told me, but most people are ecstatic, they're elated, they're grateful, they're super happy that the house that they wanted, they got. And did you have to pay more than everybody else? Yes, of course. Now, did you overpay? Well, that's a relative term. Some people might think that way or feel that way, but as you've seen with real estate, generally, a few years down the road, 5 years down the road, you're up. Now, I don't want to say that real estate's always going to go up, but we have a real supply issue, and that's where this legislation is brought in to try and cool off the market. External factors never really have that much lasting effect on controlling the market. Right now, to get to some of the stats, we're still at a 22% higher sales than the 10-year average. Some places are still at 50% of listings selling within a month. I'll include the stats package, of course, with this. You'll be able to see that. And again, I always encourage you, come down and look at the seller's market at 49%. That means 49% of listings are selling. Look at the price point, look at the area, and you're going to see different places. So, we have a lot of people moving into the Lower Mainland. One of the great things that I think the city of Vancouver has done is to allow all single family lots, except for maybe Shaughnessy, to be duplex lots. So you don't get quite the same floor space ratio as you do on already duplex lots, which are RT lots, such as in Cedar Cottage or the Grandview area. But most RS 157 lots can now build around 1,400 square foot a side. And that's adequate. That's 3 bedrooms, sometimes with a little bit of a basement. You get a backyard, a front yard, and each get a garage. So that's creating space, or creating units. And I think we need to create a lot more townhouse units and some units with space. I think some co-housing would be a great option, and cooperatives for more affordable housing. So, a lot of this is coming in. I'd be really interested to hear your feedback. Please write me back and tell me what you think or what you've read. I'm not sure I'm a fan of this cooling off period. I think they need to do research. I think they need to do studies. I think they need to find out what is happening. I mean, is part of an unintended consequence is that we have these low interest rates, and that's allowing people to get into affordability. That is. But the other thing that was really interesting, CIBC did a study, which I mentioned in my last report, that the chief economist there said something more recently. I probably asked for he's had time to think about this, that he thinks we're seeing the biggest transition of wealth in Canadian history. So what they've talked a lot about is baby boomers sitting on over $1 trillion in equity in their homes, and that this would be transferred to the next generation as they passed and people inherited. Well, there's basically a pre-inheritance going on right now, where they knew that first-time buyers were quite often getting $60,000, $80,000, $100,000 from Bank of Mom and Dad. But what they didn't know, what the study found out, is that the second-time buyers and third-time buyers into a house are often getting more than that to purchase. And actually, I've talked to a lot of people my age, in their 40s and their 50s. And what's been interesting is that the parents want to be fair. So if they give it to one kid, they give it to the other quite often. So there's two groups that are able to buy up if the parents have, their stocks and whatnot are doing well enough and they feel like they can transfer this money. So interesting food for thought. And if you have more questions about the stats or your specific area or your product, please don't hesitate to give me a shout. Please pass this on to folks that might be interested in this. And I will give you a little updates of this as I go along. And look for some exciting news just around December 1st. Cheers.